quiet, people like Alex Jones and Jeff Rentz and us and anybody else that has any sort of alternative media in them, they come out and, we talk about it. But it happens, and each year there's more of a compromise. There's more of a threat, and there's more of a compromise. And to just highlight where this all drives from, and it's greed, folks. It's greed. It's want of power and money and total control. Take a look at Michael Chertoff. Now, Michael Chertoff took over the Department of Homeland Security in the second half of the Bush administration. And Michael Chertoff just so happens to head the company that makes all of these backscatter X-ray machines that are being put in airports. Now, he went and fed the fear-mongering beast, and he went off, he took this, and continues to feed the fear-mongering beast, only in the form of these X-ray machines that his company, which he owns quite a bit of stock, by the way, in that company, and his company's doing rather well, he's profiting madly from it. It's money-driven, it's power-driven, and it's a lust for total control. That's what these elitists are doing to us. And we get poorer and poorer, and we become more slaves. Even though we fight the power, we're more slaves than we were in a long time. I was talking to my old man the other day, and I said, Dad, when you were 35, I wonder if we could take a snapshot. You at 35, me at 35. And just place where you were in your life, where I am in my life, where food is, where gas is, what things cost, what inflation was, everything else, and see how it stands now. And then ask yourself, holy crap, because I don't remember it being this bad. I don't. And my father worked. My wife doesn't work. My father worked. My mother didn't work. But we certainly didn't struggle the same way that I'm struggling right now.
Well, that's true, Joe. And, the rich keep getting richer and the poor keep getting poorer. And it's by design. It's based on lies. It's based on controlling the population and the masses with fear. Them defining in the mainstream media, the talking heads up there telling us who our enemy is. And I rejoice every time I see Wall Street tank. I can't wait for it to just fall apart. Hurry up and get her done.
Well, it's going to happen. It's going to happen because if history's any guide, and we've seen this before in history, folks, right before the Great Depression hit, and we've already had a Great Depression-type moment with the real estate bubble burst of 2008, but I think that's going to pale in comparison to what we may see here in the future. Now, this may be fear-mongering to some people, and then to some people it may not be, because for people like me, who couldn't care less if the stock market crashed and burned or not, because I'm not tied to it at all, I don't fear that. It's not fear-mongering. But use history as a guide. Right before 1929, you had a mini type of hit, a depressionary hit. It was an indicator, like a hiccup, if you will, where it dropped a certain amount. And then it was a roller coaster ride, and we're on that roller coaster ride right now. We'll talk more about history and everything else when we come back. You're listening to Freedomlink Radio on the Orion Talk Radio Network. Stay tuned. Before the break, we were talking about the Great Depression and just the indicators that we had, and especially that we have now, looking back at the Great Depression, of just how it went down and some of the events leading up to it. And we're seeing that same type of data, that same type of roller coaster ride go in the stock market right now. This is not a unique event. This has happened before. And it's happened when the bankers got into too much trouble. Oops. And here we are now, Gwen. These banksters, these greedy scavengers, because at this point, that's what they are. There's really not much left meat on the bones, if you know what I mean. And they're talking now about this. We've still got some tools up our sleeve, some weapons in the arsenal, and we may be unveiling a 50-year Treasury note this week.
Oh, brother.
Are you kidding me? 50-year Treasury note? I mean, are we getting that? I mean, what? This is crazy.
First of all, who has any money to buy Treasury notes? Who would buy Treasury notes that are worthless and not backed by gold when everything is so volatile? I mean, do they think the planet has stupid tattooed on their forehead or what? I mean, God.
When Ben Bernanke was asked, what do you think the cause is? Why is this happening? And he came back and he said, it's our fault. He basically blamed it on us, saying that we stopped consuming. There's no reason to fear. There's a fear out there. There's no reason to fear. The economic numbers, they're positive. What economic numbers is he looking at? I'm not quite understanding that.
I mean, the guy must be on drugs.
He didn't look at my checking account. Yeah, he must say, take a look at my checking account and tell me how positive it is. Wah, 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 wah. Nope. So I mean, and I'm not alone here. I'm one of many in America right now that are suffering. And no, this is no bull, folks. The middle class, if you haven't noticed, is disappearing. It's going bye-byes, and that's exactly what they want. They want the slave class, and they want a very small elite upper class. And 9/11 was just another tool, another weapon for them to be able to make that happen. Go ahead, Gwen.
Well, Joe, they came out long before 9/11 with a plan that flat out said we need another Pearl Harbor event.
Yeah.
And the whole plan was to further their corporate agenda in enslaving us, and then they had already written the Patriot Act. They already knew it was planned. Our military was told to stand down. These are crimes against humanity, for God's sakes.
Absolutely.
And then they want to say, oh, well, you're a conspiracy theorist, or you're a 9/11 truther, or whatever they want to call it. I don't care. But
Gwen, did you ever go to public school? Did you ever go to public school? Okay, so I went to public school too. And do you remember the kids that they were the cool kids? And then you had the not so cool or the nerds, and you had the jocks and all this, but you had your cliques and things like that. But you didn't want to be viewed as that geek or that outcast, and so you rode the wave with what everybody else was doing. And it's kind of like they set that mentality in place so that when you do have an event like this, that you don't choose to question it, you ride the wave, because God forbid you stick out like a sore thumb or be a black sheep.
Right. Well, and I think too, Joe, what does that say to the rest of the world about our military when you've got 4 planes unaccounted for over an hour? You've got 2 planes for well over an hour after 2 planes just hit the Twin Towers, and your military can't respond to that?
The greatest military on the face of this planet.
Right. And so what message does that send? I do not believe that they would send that message without having a much bigger agenda. And I mean, why? How embarrassing. How embarrassing. Even if everything the official story is about 9/11, how embarrassing that your own military can't intervene. But we know that they were told to stand down, but and then this idea that a bunch of people in a cave in Afghanistan did it. Who believes this stuff?
I don't know who believes this stuff, Gwen. But I will say this. I will say that it's been pre-programmed from the moment that we're born, straight on through. That, this is what they want you to do. They want you to be good sheep. They want you to be good little citizens.
Think. Yeah,
absolutely.
Think.
And they've taken away the critical thinking skills that are necessary to question events like these. It's sad, but it's people like us that help get these grass movements going. Everybody in alternative media, anybody that posts a video on YouTube about it, that questions it, that makes you think, that may give you a different opinion. That's huge. And it definitely shouldn't stop. Now, don't get me wrong, and again, the fear-mongering's got to stop. There's nothing to fear here. There's nothing to fear. We know what's going on, and we know where the people are that are doing this, that are committing these crimes and these acts. And I also know where all these bogus baloney stories are coming from. And it's to get the focus off of the actions of these elite few. Let's, Gwen, God forbid, Common Eldon's heading straight for us, Gwen. It's coming straight for us.
Yeah, I can't wait. Yeah, I'm just not buying it. Sorry. I don't see it. Something that's that close, that detrimental to our planet's well-being, and you can't even see it. You can't tell me that there's not any astronomer out there that sees it, that's going to come out and ring the bell. I'm not buying it.
No.
And why are other people buying it?
I don't know. Well, that's the thing. One thing to understand whenever they or anybody that has any sort of experience in intelligence is that with all of the stuff that they put out, they're going to put out an equal amount, if not more, of bunk. And that's just to scatter everybody about. It's to divide. And that's what they do. Racism. It's a division tactic. Income levels, oh, well, you're a rich guy and this guy's poor. Poverty, all that kind of stuff. This is all ways to just separate the population. They need that. They need that.
I call it the colonialism, the colonial mentality. They have their talking heads on the evening news all the time telling us who our enemy should be, why they should be our enemy.
Right.
And we never take the time to even investigate to see if in fact these people, the Taliban.
Right.
Okay, well let's look at the history of the Taliban, shall we? Or Al-Qaeda for that matter. That's nothing more than a CIA operation. The Taliban, well, they armed, the United States spent billions of dollars arming them and training them to fight the Russians. And then they had almost completely eradicated the poppy production. Well, the CIA couldn't have that. That was their blackout money, and they needed that money. So now all of a sudden the Taliban's our enemy again. And we're over there fighting a war with them while they're using our training and the weapons we bought them to fight us. And while they're doing it, we're guarding their poppy fields. Hello, people, knock, knock.
Right. Unbelievable stuff. Boy, this first hour's flying by, folks, and we'll have the last segment of hour number one coming up in just a few minutes after a couple of brief messages. So don't go away. Email address, thefreedomlink@centurylink.net. You're listening. Welcome back, folks. The email address, thefreedomlink@centurylink.net. Gwen Caldwell and Joe Joseph here trying to break down 9/11 and everything surrounding it, the people that orchestrated it, the powers behind it, and the history of just the absolute raping of our freedoms, of our liberties, of our way of life, our well-being, everything